Actually, the four of you are going to ask the final question. Under the same rules that we've been going by, each of you, and I believe it's your turn to start, Ms. Tomlinson, each of you may now ask a question of one of the other candidates of your choice. Each of you can ask one question of one candidate, one of your opponents, and the same rules will apply. So, Ms.
Okay.
Tomlinson, please lead us.
Okay. I guess I would ask Paul, several times you've talked about the audits of the medical center. And I recently, it came to my understanding that actually they are audited separately from this separate as an entity. And I just wonder if you have seen those audits, if they're sufficient to you.
Yes, I've seen those audits, and it's Grimes and Robinson that does that. And the thing is that it's basically revenues in and expenditures out. So the thing is that it's not really complete. I would like to see a line item expenditure. When you look at Spring Harbor Bond, and you can go up on my website at paulolsonformayor.com, and you can access that, you'll see the diatribe by basically Superior Court Judge Bobby Peters, who has a real problem with it, especially when 3 mills of our property tax that's earmarked for engineering care is being directed to pay off the principal and the interest of Spring Harbor at $74.6 million. This is an affluent, I repeat it, affluent retirement home. And that is not what the intent or the spirit of the law was when it was first created. Also, in the same respect, that was a unilateral agreement, and also was a resolution, so it's non-binding. It has to be voted on each and every year, that 3 mills. But I see a lot of improprieties. I see where Doctors Hospital was at one time paying property taxes, and Houston Hospital was paying property taxes. Doctors Hospital was paying $321,000. Houston was paying $221,000. Now they've been taken off the property tax rolls, and they're paying nothing. So in essence, this medical center authority is being created as an umbrella, a 501c3 umbrella, to shelter so many of these institutions like John B. Amos Cancer Center. You've seen just the recent other cancer center that was just purchased, and they wouldn't give a price on it by Jack Tidwell. And the thing is that there's so many things that need to be let out to the public so that they understand that their money is not being utilized for its intent. Thank you.
Well, Paul, you've got the mic, and it's your turn.
Sure.
So, ask a question of one of your opponents in this race.
Let me see. I'm asking Wayne. Again, when the local option sales tax was passed, it was passed not to be used for capital improvement projects. Last year, it was $87 million. This year, $190 million. And the thing is it's exacerbating the system because, and also there is a resolution 343-09 that the city council had basically passed, and it wasn't put to the referendum. Why did you basically exacerbate the situation of a debt? You know, because this is tied to the local option sales tax. Why did you do that, Wayne?
That's a great question because we've actually been addressing that on several different levels. The local option sales tax, and I'm assuming you're referring to the local option sales tax 2, as we call it, that dealt with public safety, 70% for public safety, then 30% for infrastructure. And we clearly defined it that is an infrastructure kind of question. There are several projects in that infrastructure that deal with roads, and we have been waiting on DOT to get funding in order to do those things. We said we need to go ahead and do them ourselves because already we're behind the timeline in getting ready for BRAC, so we used them for roads. There were a couple of other projects that we have delayed just because of the economic situation and the controversy that might swirl around them. The price has gone up since 1999, the cost of everything, which makes them a little more expensive. Citizen Service Center. We wanted to make that a little bit larger, so we, in essence, have delayed it until we had the funding By that time, of course, it's no longer the funding that we needed for it to occur. We had to actually ask some additional funding, but it was an approved project. The citizens approved a center swimming pool. When we looked at the center swimming pool, we'd spend $3 to $5 million on that pool. We, of course, delayed it until now, since 1999, and you can imagine the cost of doing it. So the other idea was to say, okay, can we make it something that's a revenue generator and that can be used much more during the year? A pool outside has very limited use. A pool inside has a lot more use. So the idea of an indoor swimming pool, well, if you take it up a big step level, another step up, then it can be used as an auditorium for a regional as well as perhaps even southeastern trials, and there is revenue that comes from all of this and be able to generate revenue for the entire city. So that's why some of those projects that are in that, and remember, we're paying for things over a 10-year process. We're going to try to pay as you go so we don't create any additional debt. So we're not doing everything at the same time. We're taking those things that are top priorities and getting them done, try to eliminate the amount of interest that has to be charged to each one. But it's a revenue bond, and it's over 10 years, which is roughly $13 million a year.
I decline. I do not believe in giving my opponents FaceTime. More FaceTime. I don't do it when I knock on doors. I do not bring up their names. I talk about Zeph Baker, so I decline.
Well, the question I would ask, I think, Paul, is this question. One of the concerns that you have that you continually bring up, and the illustration is just that a moment ago, and the other one is like the local option sales tax or the SPLOST, and then the third one is the issue over the rollback, tax rollback. When you receive, we try to explain that, city attorney and others, when you receive an explanation, you still keep on coming back and confusing the public. Why do you do that?
First of all, in 226-08, you, Wayne, and City Council promised that 70% would go to public safety, 30% would go to infrastructure. Then you turn around the next year in 343-09 resolution. So if anybody wants to look them up, they can look it up. It's $131.5 million. The tables are turned. $98 million is for infrastructure, and including is the ice skating rink, the natatorium, and so on and so forth, right? And $33.5 million goes to public safety. It's vice versa. And when you exacerbate the situation, guess what? Then you cannot devote that money towards public safety. And Wayne, you promised the public safety that you would give them a pay raise. That has not happened in the past.